The Philadelphia Eagles.
They got him again!
Sixers.
Bang! It's good! Ball game!
And Flyers.
Just in front of the net!
97.3 ESPN. WENJ. WENJ HD. Millville, Atlantic City. A Town Square media station serving all of South Jersey. This is the Sports Bash with Mike Gill on 97.3 ESPN and the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app. Now live from inside the Ocean Casino Resort studio, here's Mike Gill.
I think that they're playing more under control than they ever have, right? I mean, I think they kind of know who they are now. And I think defensively, they're tackling much better. And they look like they're in better shape this year than they were last year. I think you got to give credit to that.
Michael Lombardi from the GN Shuffle podcast says he thinks the Eagles know who they are now. Well, what are they? We'll ask KC Joyner from The Athletic. We got one thought every game. You're home for Eagles football. Eagles Commanders Thursday night right here on 97.3 ESPN. What are the Eagles? Let's get some insight from KC Joyner from The Athletic here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN. He says he thinks they know what they are now, KC Joyner. Do we know who the Eagles are? Do we have a better feel about this team? They had a 5-game stretch. They won all 5 against teams that I think are combined 13 and 35. That Cowboys offense might be one of the worst that we've seen in the NFL in recent memory. They are bad. So in this 5-game stretch, do we have a better feel of what Philly is, or do we need more of a sample size against better competition?
You want to see a sample size against better competition, but the Eagles, I got to give them credit when they went into that game. Early on, it didn't go, when you look at on paper, that should have been a blowout, and it was in the end, but early on it wasn't. It was kind of competitive. The Eagles stayed true to who they were. They said, we're not going to go ahead and get out of whack here. We know what our game plan is. I think what he's saying is they know we're a running team. We're going to throw vertical when we need to. We've got a really good defense. We know what kind of a defense we want to play too. We know what we're getting there. I mean, they've got the identity of who they are. And I don't think, like I said, right now they know who they are. Let's see if that keeps up in the weeks ahead. But right at the moment, they know what kind of game plan they want to run. They got to play bad competition. Let's see when they get against the Washingtons of the world how they do.
You take a look at this Philadelphia team, and they have so much star power. They have so much talent. Do they feel that they're at the level of the talent on their roster?
Here's one of the things that stood out. It's funny you say that because here's one thing that stood out. I thought the Eagles, I like them running the football. It's what they should do. They threw the ball vertical passes. That's 11 or more yards downfield. They threw 9 of those against the Cowboys. 5 of those were passes traveling 20 more yards downfield. So when they said we're going to go vertical, they said we're just going to go really vertical. They had opportunities, I think, in that game if they wanted to do a lot more intermediate passing. But again, they said we're going to run the ball, and if we throw, we're going to throw what I call a stretch vertical play, where you're just trying to get 20 more yards downfield. We're really trying to hit big play. We're going to run the ball, or we're going to try and hit a home run. We're not going to try because the risky stuff is when you're throwing intermediate passes, deep ends, skinny posts, things of that nature. Those intermediate passes from 11 to 19 yards, those are statistically the riskiest passes you can throw. And Eagles basically said in this game, we're not going to throw them. So I like to see that sort of thing, but you're going to have to probably use those passes at some point, and that might have been a game with the Cowboys where you can get a little more practice in there. So I like the idea of sticking to the game plan, but yeah, they're going to have to expand a few things when they get against tougher competition.
Jalen Hurts, 202 yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 2 rushing touchdowns. His 15th career game where he has run for 2. He continues to do things with his legs and throw the ball. Didn't throw a lot, only 20 passes. What did you like about Jalen Hurts' game on Sunday?
First thing, I can't believe that when it comes to, if you look at like NFL MVP odds, I write this weekly article for about that, and his odds, he does what he does on Sunday, and the odds, the betting public is basically like, yawn, who cares? Like, are you kidding me, guys? What he's doing is not easy to do. I know Lamar's doing better, 4 touchdown passes, I get it, but come on, it's difficult to do. I like the fact that, again, 9 of 11 on short passes, 6.6 yards per attempt. He threw the vertical, he threw the short passes. He protected the ball fairly well. I mean, it was, it still had, the pick, but still 5 of 9 for 129 yards on vertical passes, 14.3 yards per attempt. And if you had to say on the Cowboys defense, The secondary is not great, but of the strong suits, I would have said that that's the place where it was the toughest, and they still got some things done and got other people involved too in the offense. So I like a lot of what we're seeing there. And again, once you get this offense really to full strength, you get you get everybody fully on board. I think this offense can be even more. But I like how they spread the ball around and got a lot more people involved in things, because having depth down the road is something they're going to need to do. But then, by the way, very healthy team too. When you look at the records, a very healthy team right now. It's a good place to be as well.
And getting Jordan Mailata back most likely this week, and that should help the offensive line, although Fred Johnson has played well. A.J. Brown, 5 catches, 109 yards, his 15th game. Casey with 100 yards receiving with the Eagles. The Eagles are a different offense with Brown. They average about 30 points per game with him, only 18 points per game without him. What does he do that really makes him such a difference maker?
It's those stretch vertical players. Smith, is as good as he is not a stretch vertical player. He's an intermediate player. He can do it. Don't get me wrong, but you need a guy who could just tear the top off of a defense, who can physically go, not just run past me, but physically go win one-on-one battles. And it's a simple thing, but you think, but he can do it. He's 3 of 5. He had 5 of the 9 vertical passes they threw in this game. He had 5 on 3 catches for 88 yards, 29.3 yards per reception. Long of 44 yards, 25 yards after the catch, too. Again, he's a guy who is hard to tackle, too. So, again, Smith you want a guy like Smith in your offense. He could do certain things, but you've got to have a guy like Brown where you could just say, you can put your best corner out there. We can just go ahead and throw over the top, and we can just break your defense this way. And he's a guy who, when you've got that sort of matchup, and even when you say we're going to use physical play against him, it's not going to work. It just changes the dynamic of a defense. And when Hurts knows that if I get in a tough situation, I just throw the ball up there, and he's a 50-50 ball he's going to catch. Again, for an offense to have a Goddard, the offense to have a Smith, the offense to have a Brown, the skill sets that they have, plus you have Barkley in backfield, just not that many that can do that. And like I said, to be able to use all of them the way they have so far of late is Eagles are dangerous. Eagles are dangerous, and they are definitely Super Bowl contender right now.
Well, let's go to the other guy. It's Saquon Barkley, 66 yards rushing, 12 receiving yards in the game. That was probably his least productive game in the game against Dallas. They didn't need him. He's got almost 1,200 scrimmage yards this season. It's the most by an Eagles player through 9 games since Brian Westbrook. But can they run versus the best rush defenses in the NFL, or is this Barkley doing it against the Bengals and the Cowboys and that level?
Yeah, I mean, the Bengals have shown when they did against the Bengals had a fairly solid rush defense. So against the Cowboys, the Cowboys are. Yeah, they're the worst run defense I've seen in a long time. And again, when you don't need to rush Barkley, hey, they should be very thankful. Only had to run him 14 times this game. That's great. You get the lead, and you don't have to give him 20, 25 carries, because a lot of teams, they keep wearing their lead backs out, and you don't want to do that. I like seeing get other things incorporated in. Barkley, the thing you can do with him, again, you can run whatever type of offense you want to run, whatever type of running play you want to run. You want to use gap schemes? He does them great. You want to use zone? He's got fantastic vision. He and Derrick Henry are probably the 2 best in the league right now. You want to do traps where he has got to hit it quickly? You can do that. You want to do fancy things with your running game where you're faking. You do a lot of subterfuge, is what I call it. You do a lot of trick plays, or not trick plays, but you're sending a defense keys that makes them react one way and goes to another. He did a ton of that when in the Giants offense under Daboll, and he can do all those things. So the number of backs who can not lose their productivity when they do all these things is tremendous. And having as many carries as he's had, as much wear and tear as he's had this year, he's not lost a step so far. The number of backs who you can be as productive on play number 1, scrimmage play 1 versus scrimmage play 300. There's maybe 5 in the league you can say that about, and he is one of them. So that's the thing. He gives you something you can say, if we've got this and we keep him well enough rested, and don't try and give him 30 carries a game. If we do this and keep him that way, he can be performing this way during the playoffs, and they're going to need it.
KC Joyner from The Athletic. We'll get to one thought every game in a couple of minutes here. The Cowboys got to Jalen Hurts 5 times in the first half, 54% of his dropbacks. Is that a concern watching Philly the way that first half? Now, they did do a much better job in the second half, but Hurts looked like he's holding the ball, or is it breakdown in pass protection? What did you see in that first half that other teams might say, hey, I like what they did?
I think the Eagles went into this game with the mindset of, we know we're a better team. We don't have to force these plays and make these mistakes. When the Cowboys do some creative and interesting things, okay, we know they're going to make mistakes. We don't have to force these things. We don't have to make these errors. That's the thing. Okay, if the Cowboys do something creative on defense and they get after the quarterback and get the sack, A lot of times, you're going to get quarterbacks who force plays. You're going to get offenses to push. The Eagles stayed patient, said, no, we're going to stick with this. We know that they may do a couple things here, but they're going to break down defensively, and we're going to find ways to adjust to what they do. I liked that. A lot of times, that's the thing. If I liked anything about this game more than anything else, it was the Eagles' patience. I keep coming back to it, that the Eagles, in past couple of years, there'll be times when they get impatient over the course of a season or impatient during a game. When you've got a good game plan, you've got to stick with it. I think they said, we've got a good game plan here. This is the team we outclass. We don't have to lose our cool. And that's something that if you get into that sort of mindset, when you get into the bigger games, you don't start blowing fourth quarter leads. You instead keep them. So that's what I really liked about this most. That, yeah, they got after the passer, but it didn't cause the Eagles to flinch and change their game plans.
One thought every game. KC Joyner from The Athletic. Here we go. A look at all of the Week 10 action. Panthers 20, Giants 17. That's an overtime game in Munich. Free football for the Germans over there. Panthers have won consecutive games for the first time in exactly 700 days. 5 consecutive losses for the Giants in a single season for the first time since 2021. The Giants, not good.
Oh, they're not good. And Jones is that Jones was the worst quarterback in the game when you come into that game and you realize Bryce Young played better and such. Yeah, I mean, they've got some talent. Neighbors are good. Tracy is good, but they just don't have enough. And again, you've committed to Jones and now you're paying the price for it. And I think they just it's got to be a reset at quarterback because they're not gonna, he's shown you how far he can get in the NFL.
This one was interesting. Chiefs 16, Broncos 14. The Chiefs block Will Lutz's 35-yard field goal attempt. That would have won the game. It's the first blocked field goal by the Chiefs since 2023, which also came against Will Lutz.
That's the Chiefs. They're doing that old find a way to win. The thing is, though, is when I look at the Chiefs, they're 9-0. Okay, that's a great record. Bill James pointed out many times that the great teams in NFL or in Major League Baseball history, they're the ones that get out and destroy opponents. You don't just win games. If you're winning by games by 2, you're probably not a great team. It might be a very good team if you're winning all those, but not be a great team. So that they were able to do it speaks so well for the Broncos. They're able to go into Kansas City and do that. But I'm looking at the Chiefs going, okay, Chiefs, you're 9-0. You got a lot of things to fix because if you keep trying to play like this and hoping you can win on last-second field goal blocks, that's not a Super Bowl recipe.
One thought, every game, Patriots 19, Bears 3. The Bears fired their offensive coordinator, Shane Waldron, today because, in large part of this, 15 sacks over the last 2 games. They gave up 9 on Sunday, the third most over a 2-game span since sacks were first tracked back in 1963. That's how bad it got for the Bears.
Yeah, and, I mean, Williams, a few weeks ago, he looks like he's progressing, and this offense is doing well. Now he looks like he's regressing. They're passing him. Look at Allen Moore and Odunze and Kmet. I mean, they're 44, 24, 23, and 13 yards between them. And mind you, the Patriots they're a solid defense at best, but they're not a great defense. To do like that, yeah, it speaks very badly for what the Bears were. They needed to make that change. I got to give the Patriots credit. A couple weeks ago, I would have thought, man, this team's going to tank for the whole rest of the season, but they're still showing some moxie of it. This was more about how bad the Bears are.
One thought every game, Saints with a surprise. They show a little pulse, 20-17. They beat the Falcons. They snap a 7-game losing streak. First win since week 2. Remember, they had 91 points in the first 2 games versus Dallas. They scored a ton of points. Falcons have lost 3 straight on the road against the Saints.
They just don't fare well there. And I got to give him credit. Valdez-Scantling, they bring him in. Remember, he was a big play player a couple years ago. He was like one of the best stretch vertical receivers in the league. They said, fine, we can pick him up. We'll go do something with him when we've got injuries to our receiving corps. 3 catches, 109 yards, 2 touchdowns. They did that very well. I keep coming back to the Falcons where sometimes their offense will look great and sometimes it's empty calories. Kirk Cousins, 306 passing yards, but no touchdowns, 1 pick. And they don't, they get the ball. If you give them certain situations, they'll do well, and they don't do well otherwise. And they're not playing anywhere near as well as that talent is. And I'm not saying they need to fire their offensive coordinator, but if they don't go very far, it's because they're not getting what they should out of their offense. But also, by the way, Saints, one of the most banged up teams in the league. It makes that win even more impressive.
One thought every game. Let's go to Vikings 12, Jacksonville 7. Rock fight here. Jacksonville 1-6 in 1-score games. The most losses in the NFL. They're right there every week. Minnesota 7-2 now with the win. It matches their win total from the 2023 season.
I don't understand how you've got Hawkinson coming back 8 for 72, so he's there. You've got Jefferson, you've got Addison, you've got Aaron Jones rushing for 88 yards where he comes out. Akers is a solid backup. You've got that, and you've got Darnold, but Darnold throwing 3 picks is what did it. I mean, this is why you should be able to do a heck of a lot more you can do because You give up only 7 against the Jaguars when they're playing Mac Jones, and you've got a Brian Flores defense. Yeah, I can see that, but Vikings got to do a whole lot better on offense because we're starting to get back to some of those things we saw earlier this year. We're really terrible offense. It's like, boy, is it going to improve? Look, it was improving for a while. Now we got some teams that are getting in the other direction. So I think it's going to, these offenses got to start get going, or we're going to start seeing some more 12-7 playoff games.
Ooh, one thought every game. Bills 30, Colts 20. Bills best start since 1993. They were 8-2 that year as well. It snapped a 6-game road losing streak against the Colts. The last time they won there was Peyton Manning's rookie year. Buffalo now leads the AFC East by 5 games. Colts are sticking with Joe Flacco.
If I'm a Buffalo, I'm a bit concerned. Allen was protecting the ball really well, and then he throws 2 picks, no touchdowns. And mind you, he still rushed for 50 yards on touchdowns, so he's still doing what he needs to do to win, but he can't revert back to that. They're not a team. They're a very good team, but if they win the turnover battle, if they start losing the turnover battle, I don't think they have that kind of margin for error. Yeah, and Flacco, he's a relief pitcher. He's a great relief pitcher. A dozen teams would love to have him as their backup quarterback. Can you rely on him as a starter week? No, that's why you have him as a relief pitcher. And the Dodgers win the World Series. They close it out with a relief pitcher there. You can do it for time in all sports. But, yeah, Flacco, I don't think Richardson's the answer, but Flacco's not the answer either.
One thought every game. Steelers 28. Commanders 27, Jaden Daniels, season low 50% completion percentage on Sunday. The blitz came at him early and often. He was blitzed on 53% of his dropbacks. He was pressured on 31%. He completed 1 of 8 on those pressures for 28 yards. They sacked him 3 times. Not a good day for Jaden Daniels for the first time.
No, and he got banged up. A couple of weeks ago, he got that rib injury. He's not been the same. And I think – I'm not saying that he can't handle a hit, but defense are now going, oh, okay, when you get hit and you get injured, you're not the same player. Maybe he's still a little banged up. Not enough to keep him out of game or on the injury report and things, but he's still a bit banged up. I think teams are going to start testing him and go, okay, that's how you beat Daniels is you get after him, you hit him, and you see if he can get rattled. He'll probably figure that out over time, but again, they scored 27 points, so they did something, but I got to give Russell Wilson credit. I mean, the Steelers offense right now, about top 5 in offensive points scored over the past 4 weeks, points per game. I mean, and they're doing it on a consistent basis. I didn't think the Wilson experiment was going to be the thing to go. And he's looking like, if Wilson keeps playing like this and the defense playing like they're playing, again, now they get Mike Williams to add another vertical threat to the game. And this is the Steelers team that can make a Super Bowl run.
One thought every game. Let's take a look at what happened in San Francisco or Tampa. San Francisco beats the Bucs 23-20. The Niners win consecutive games for the first time this season. They were down 17-13 in the fourth quarter. Brock Purdy, 353, 2 passing touchdowns, 4 straight losses for the Bucs. They like to get McCaffrey back.
Yeah, McCaffrey, again, 13 for 39 in this game. Yeah, I'm on the ground. It's just not. Is that what we're going to get out of McCaffrey when we're going to beat Jordan Mason back in there? He caught 6 passes for 68. He's good in the passing game. Maybe that's what you need to do. Say, look, we got Mason in the backfield. Let's put McCaffrey in as a slot. You're banged up out there anyway. But Jennings has played well. Pearsall's playing well. The Bucs, though, that's a terrible defense, and there's only so much they could do. But look at Baker Mayfield. He was an MVP candidate at one point. 18-29, $116 and 1 touchdown. Their offense is just they've lost the receivers, and now they're just falling apart. So I think the Bucs are headed downward, and the Niners again, if they can get McCaffrey back to full speed, I think they've got this is a team that could make a sneaky. I don't want to see them in the playoffs if I'm an NFC team.
One thought every game. Chargers, Titans. Titans fall to 2-7. It's their worst record through 9 games since 2015. The Chargers, all of a sudden, 6-3. Best record through 9 games in 2018. It looks like the Chargers might be a legit playoff team.
They look very much like it. And Herbert only didn't throw a lot. They've had him throw a lot more than they had earlier in the year, and he's healthy enough to be able to do it. Because he got banged up for a few weeks there, and their offense wasn't the same. Only threw 18 passes, 14 completions, 164 yards. I'm looking at this going, okay, I'm a Michigan fan, and you see what Harbaugh did with that offense there. And yeah, J.J. McCarthy didn't throw a ton. And you go, yeah, but when he did throw, he was really successful. That's what they've got out their passing game. They just got Gus Edwards back. Not a great runner, but again, 10 for 55. He's a bowling ball, and now you don't have to run Dobbins all the time. And you've got some other options there. You've got Haskins running for touchdowns too. So and Quentin Johnston. There's a lot of them. Lad McConkey developing. there's a lot of pluses to this Chargers team. Again, they're ascending too. If they keep at the track they're going, they're going to be another. The AFC playoffs are going to be really interesting this year. You're going to have some new teams in there that are going to be very dangerous.
I'll tell you who won't be in there, the Jets. They lost 31-6 to the Cardinals, fourth straight win, their longest streak since 2021 when they went 7-0. It's their first time winning back-to-back games by 20 or more points since 2021, and with the loss, the Jets are 1-6 in their last 7 games after starting the year 2-1.
They're brutally bad. How's this offense? You've got Wilson, you've got Adams, you've got Hall, you've got Rodgers. How are you only scoring 6 points? How are you only kicking 2 field goals? Rodgers, what's that report? There's somebody said that he's, it sucked the life out of the entire organization and things there. The offense certainly has. He's just a mediocre quarterback at this point. We imagine Joe Flacco on that offense again. He'd be a good relief pitcher, but they could be a whole lot better. But the story here really is got to be Arizona. Murray's doing very well. He's an MVP candidate now. Benson now with Conda, they've got a second back where they can go to a platoon setup. They're getting good production out of the receiving core. They're not quite a deep receiving core, but Harrison's starting to finally play better. I mean, this is a team that's learning to do a lot of things. I don't think they're more than a wild card team. I don't think they'd go very far, but I mean, Arizona right now, yeah, they're a wild card round team and deserving to be there. They're definitely looking like that. This isn't like smoke and mirrors anymore. This is a good team.
Yeah, you just thought if Rodgers was just average, they would have been fine, but that hasn't been the case. One thought, every game, Lions, Texans, great game here. Lions 8-1 start, best start through 9 games since 1954. They went to the NFL Championship game. They lost to the Browns. Back-to-back losses for the Texans for the first time since 0-2 last year. Texans had this game.
They did, and Jared Goff throws 5 picks. He's the first quarterback to throw 5 picks in a game since Jameis Winston did it in 2019. I mean, it's terrible. He's had a horrible game, and you're looking at it going, okay, it's 23-7 at halftime. Easily the Texans get shut out. They get outscored 19-0. They don't do anything, and their offense. Mechie is their top receiver. Dalton Schultz is second. They don't have anybody more. Tank Dell's is falling apart. They don't have anybody else right now. The receiving core got hit, and they're going to have a problem too because talk about where we got backs. Mixon, 27 scrimmage plays in this contest. You just can't keep up at that pace. You look at history, and it's like you do that for enough games, you're going to wear your backs out. And even if you count the time that he missed, I did an analysis a couple weeks ago. Even if you keep him up at this pace, Mixon's going to be, I forget what it is. He's going to have like 300 plus scrimmage plays in a year, and it's going to be in a compressed time frame. If they wear him out, they're going to collapse even more. But the Lions, to come back from 5 picks like that and then still find a way to shut this offense down second half, big kudos to them.
All right, so you got the Lions, and then where's the next tier in the NFC?
Eagles are right at the top. I mean, if I'm ranking the teams in the NFC, it's the Lions, it's the Eagles, and then it's Washington's right in third place, definitely third. And it's just I don't think Minnesota's 7-2, but I don't think they're that good. I mean, I think it's those two, and that's it. Like right now, if you ask me, this is going to be the conference championship, unless the seeding works out a different way. It's going to be Philadelphia and Detroit, and who knows where it's going to be. But asking where I thought right now, that's going to be your NFC championship game.
Well, we'll see Thursday night. It's a big game for Philly and Washington. We'll get one thought every game and go over that game with KC Joyner on Wednesday's show. Check him out over at The Athletic and on the X platform at KC Joyner TFS for more on the NFL Week number 10. It's in the books. KC, we'll see you Thursday.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, one thought every game, of course, here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN, the 97.3 ESPN free mobile app, and streaming live video on the X platform and on YouTube at Mike Gill Show. Follow and subscribe. It's brought to you by Cooper University Healthcare. We're doing something extraordinary for families down the shore. I'm Mike Gill. This is the Sports Bash, and we have one more chance for you to qualify for this year's 99 Growlers Party. That's coming up in about a half an hour from now. We got the big 3 on the way. I got the Bet365 play of the day still to come. I think I did pretty well in those plays last night. I know I hit the under in the Monday Night Football game. That was almost a breeze. I know Washington, the Rockets covered last night too. I took the Nets last night. They covered. I had a little 3-pack for myself last